If you have found yourself stuck in the same painful patterns, fighting the same battles again and again, watching the same struggles repeat in your life despite all your effort, then this prayer is for you. It feels like you're moving but never advancing, as though unseen forces are constantly pulling you backward, as though invisible chains are restricting your progress in your health, your finances, your peace, or your relationships. Then understand this moment clearly. God Himself has led you here. This is not chance. This is not coincidence. The Spirit of God has been drawing your heart, preparing you for the breakthrough that is about to unfold. Right now, heaven's attention is fixed on you. The power of God is moving towards you, ready to dismantle every destructive cycle that has troubled your life. Respond in faith. Engage your heart. If you believe God is intervening on your behalf, express it. If you are ready to witness the end of these patterns, acknowledge it. When you act in faith, you are declaring that oppression ends here, that limitations lose their grip, that the season of repetition is over. Every time you share this prayer, you are extending hope to someone who may be silently suffering. You become a channel of encouragement, a voice of light, a vessel through which God can touch others. You are not simply sharing words. You are releasing faith, lifting burdens, and opening doors for transformation. Right now, declare with confidence, every evil cycle is broken by the power of Psalm 138. Let those words settle deeply within you. Your confession aligns your heart with God's truth. Scripture reminds us that life is shaped by what we speak. So speak freedom, speak restoration, speak progress. Speak the end of every pattern that has stolen your joy, delayed your growth, and weighed down your spirit. Father God, I come before you with reverence and trust, grateful that through Jesus Christ I have access to your presence. I do not come by my own strength, but by your grace and mercy. I stand upon the truth of Psalm 138, which declares that when I call upon you, you answer me and fill me with renewed strength. Even before I see the results, I thank you because you are faithful to every promise you have spoken. With all my heart, I give you praise, just as David did, not only in moments of victory, but even in seasons of struggle, because I know you are near and you are working for my good. Your word says that when I cried out, you strengthened me within. So I cry out to you now. Hear my prayer. Intervene in my life. Break every destructive cycle that has repeated itself. Dismantle every pattern of defeat, every recurring burden, every strategy of the enemy designed to keep me bound. Strengthen my spirit. Fill me with divine courage. Equip me to stand firm against every unseen force that has worked against my destiny. I bring before you every generational pattern that has followed my family line, every inherited burden, every recurring struggle, every cycle that has moved from one generation to another. I surrender it to you. I declare today that the pattern ends with me. Through your power, I become a breaker of chains. Through your grace, I become the one who shifts the story of my lineage. Let the power of the blood of Jesus cleanse every root, renew every foundation, and establish a new heritage marked by peace, favor, purpose, and blessing. Where those before me walked under limitation, I walk in liberty. Where they endured lack, I step into provision. Where they knew discouragement, I walk in hope. Where they were bound, I stand free. Lord, I speak specifically against cycles of financial struggle, every pattern of lack, every recurring season of debt, every spirit of frustration tied to provision. I release it into your hands. Your word promises that you supply, that you provide, that you bless the work of my hands. I receive that promise. I declare that scarcity does not define my future. I declare that wisdom, provision, and stability are being established in my life. The cycle of constant struggle is ending, and a new season of stewardship, growth, and sufficiency is beginning. I bring before you every pattern of sickness and weakness. You are the Lord who heals, the one who restores. Where illness has repeated itself in my family, I speak healing. Where there has been fear around health, I speak peace. Where the body has been under strain, I speak renewal. Let every part of my being align with the wholeness you designed for me. Let strength replace weakness. Let restoration replace damage. Let hope replace fear. I also lift before you every cycle of broken relationships and emotional wounds. Where there has been conflict, misunderstanding, division, and repeated heartbreak, I ask for your healing touch. Restore communication, restore trust, restore unity. Teach hearts to love with wisdom, to speak with gentleness, to forgive with sincerity. Where relationships have suffered under repeated strain, let your peace establish a new foundation. I bring before you every cycle of bondage, every pattern of addiction, every struggle that has tried to control lives within my family. You are the God who delivers. You are the one who restores dignity, clarity, and freedom. Let every chain lose its power. Let every heart find renewal. Let every life touched by this prayer experience the grace of transformation. Father, I continue to rest in your presence, knowing that my confidence is not rooted in emotion, but in the unchanging truth of your character. You are faithful even when seasons have been difficult, and you remain consistent even when patterns have attempted to repeat themselves. I hold tightly to the assurance spoken through Psalm 138 that when I cry out, you answer, that when my strength feels fragile, you strengthen me within. Let this prayer not be spoken into emptiness, but into the living atmosphere of your presence, where every word becomes a seed of transformation. Lord, I acknowledge that many cycles do not begin in a moment, but develop quietly over time, shaping habits, shaping expectations, shaping fear. Yet, you are the God who intervenes, even in what feels deeply rooted. You are not intimidated by history. You are not limited by patterns. You are not confined by timelines. Your mercy reaches beyond years, beyond mistakes, beyond inherited struggles. In your presence, I receive the grace to believe that nothing repeating in my life is stronger than your power to interrupt it. You have declared that your steadfast love endures forever, and that you do not abandon the work of your hands. I hold on to this truth as I bring before you every area where progress has felt delayed, where effort has seemed fruitless, where movement has felt stalled. You formed me with purpose. You shaped my destiny with intention, and therefore no destructive cycle has the authority to override what your hands have created. What you began in me will not end in frustration. Father, I surrender the weight of disappointment that accumulates when patterns persist longer than expected. I release the silent weariness that forms when prayers have been whispered repeatedly over the same areas. You see what has grown heavy. You understand what has gone unspoken. You are not distant from the fatigue of the soul. Instead, you draw near with gentle strength, restoring hope quietly, steadily, faithfully. Your word declares that you exalt your word above all your name, meaning that what you have spoken carries supreme authority. So I choose to trust your word more than the evidence of repetition, more than the familiarity of struggle, more than the memory of past seasons, where experience has tried to convince me that things never change. Your word gently reminds me that you are always working, even when progress appears slow. Lord, I ask that you begin your deep work not only on circumstances, but within the heart, where cycles have been reinforced by fear. Replace fear with clarity. Where patterns have been sustained by discouragement, replace discouragement with quiet endurance. Where wounds have shaped expectations, bring healing that reshapes perspective. Let transformation begin from within, so that external change follows naturally and steadily. You are the God who perfects that which concerns me, not partially, not temporarily, but completely, thoroughly, with precision and wisdom. I lean into that promise, knowing that perfection in your hands does not mean instant change, but intentional shaping, careful pruning, and lasting stability. Let every area of my life be brought under your refining hand, free from the instability of old patterns. I speak gently but firmly before you. I am a cycle breaker by your grace, not by force, not by striving, but by alignment with your spirit. The pattern ends here, not because of my strength, but because of your intervention. I receive restoration not through pressure, but through surrender. I walk in freedom, not through resistance, but through trust in your ongoing work. Let your light reach every hidden place where patterns have survived quietly. Let your presence enter spaces that have not yet experienced renewal. Nothing in me is beyond your reach. Nothing in my history is too tangled for your wisdom. Nothing in my future is too fragile for your care. I remain here before you, open, available, receptive to the slow, steady, holy work you are accomplishing. Father, continue this work beyond what is visible, beyond what is felt, beyond what is immediately understood. Establish in me a new rhythm of life shaped by peace rather than anxiety, by progress rather than delay, by wholeness rather than fragmentation. Let this prayer be carried not only in words, but in transformation that unfolds gently, faithfully, and deeply over time. Father, I remain before you with quiet trust, aware that transformation does not always arrive loudly, yet it is always certain when your hand is involved. You are the God who works beyond what eyes can measure, shaping outcomes in places the heart cannot yet perceive. According to your word, when you answer, you strengthen the soul. So I lean not on emotional reassurance, but on the deep certainty that you are strengthening me even now, strengthening my resilience, strengthening my discernment, strengthening my ability to walk beyond what once confined me. Lord, you understand the subtle ways cycles form. You see how disappointment becomes expectation, how fear becomes habit, how limitation becomes identity. But you are the God who gently dismantles false foundations and replaces them with truth. Where my mind has grown accustomed to delay, reshape my thinking with hope. Where my spirit has learned to brace for struggle, teach it again to expect goodness. Where my heart has learned to guard itself, teach it again, trust your process. Your word declares that you preserve those who walk humbly before you. I choose humility before you, acknowledging that I cannot untangle every pattern on my own, nor can I discern every root that must be addressed. I rely on your wisdom to reach beneath what is visible, to touch what is deeply buried, to restore what I may not even know needs healing. Let nothing remain hidden that hinders the wholeness you desire to establish. Father, I bring before you the cycles that have shaped family histories, the struggles that seem to appear without explanation, the patterns that move quietly through generations. You are not bound by lineage, you are not limited by inheritance. You are not restrained by history. You are the God who introduces new beginnings where old narratives once dominated. Let your intervention redefine what is normal within my lineage. You have declared that your faithfulness reaches to the heavens and that your mercy endures through every generation. Let your mercy rewrite what repetition once sustained. Where pain has echoed, let peace be established. Where instability has become familiar, let stability take root. Where survival has been the highest expectation, let fullness of life begin to unfold gently and consistently. Lord, I entrust to you every silent frustration that arises when effort does not seem to yield visible progress. You see the obedience no one else sees. You hear the prayers spoken quietly. You recognize the perseverance that goes unnoticed. You honor the heart that continues to seek you even when outcomes are delayed. Let that quiet faithfulness become the soil in which lasting change grows. Your word says that you have magnified your word above all your name, meaning that every promise you have spoken carries weight beyond circumstance. I choose to anchor myself in what you have spoken rather than in what I have experienced. Experience may shift, but your word remains stable. Patterns may have repeated, but your promises remain untouched by time. Father, refine the expectations of my heart. Where I have grown accustomed to disappointment, realign me with the possibility of joy. Where I have settled into survival, lift my vision toward growth. Where I have learned to endure rather than to hope, restore hope gently, without pressure, without strain, but with quiet assurance. I acknowledge before you that I am not defined by what is repeated in my life. I am defined by what you are doing within me. I am not shaped by past limitations. I am shaped by your ongoing work. The pattern ends here, not through effort, but through surrender. I receive restoration not through force, but through trust. I walk in freedom not through striving, but through alignment with your spirit. Continue, Lord, the careful work you are accomplishing. Let change unfold with wisdom, not haste. Let growth establish itself with depth, not surface appearance. Let every area touched by repetition be gradually transformed into testimony. I remain before you, not anxious for speed, but confident in process, trusting that the one who began this work will bring it to completion. Father, I remain still before you, aware that your work within me does not require striving, only surrender. In the quiet of this prayer, sense your steady presence, shaping what has been unstable and restoring what has been fractured. You are not hurried, yet you are never late. Your timing is not driven by pressure, but by wisdom. Let my heart learn the rhythm of trusting you fully, even when outcomes are still unfolding. Lord, you have seen every moment where the soul grew weary from waiting, every place where hope felt fragile, every season where the same struggles appeared to return. Yet you have never withdrawn your hand. You have never withdrawn your care. You have never withdrawn your intention. Even when progress seemed invisible, you remained actively at work, guiding, strengthening, protecting, and preserving. Your word assures me in Psalm 138 that when I called, you answered me and strengthened me with strength in my soul. I hold on to this promise with quiet confidence. Even if circumstances do not shift immediately, I trust that strengthening is already taking place within. Strengthening of character, strengthening of faith, strengthening of endurance, strengthening of vision, strengthening that prepares me for the life you are unfolding beyond the patterns of the past. Father, let this inner strengthening begin to dissolve the influence of every cycle that has been reinforced by fear, disappointment, or uncertainty. Where the heart has learned to expect struggle, teach it again to expect grace. Where the mind has learned to anticipate delay, renew it with patience rooted in hope. Where the spirit has grown cautious, soften it with trust that you are faithfully guiding each step forward. You have declared in your word that you will perfect that which concerns me, and that your mercy endures forever. I rest in this promise, knowing that perfection in your hands is not harsh but gentle, not rushed but thorough, not temporary but lasting. Every area of my life that has felt incomplete, unstable, or repeatedly challenged is now surrendered to your ongoing work of restoration. Lord, I bring before you the deeper roots of cycles that often remain unseen, the quiet beliefs shaped by past disappointments, the unspoken fears formed through repeated struggles, the emotional patterns learned over time. You see beyond behavior and into the heart. Touch those places with your healing presence. Let truth gently replace fear. Let clarity replace confusion. Let peace replace unrest. Where cycles have been reinforced by exhaustion, breathe renewed strength. Where repetition has created discouragement, restore quiet resilience. Where long battles have created emotional fatigue, pour fresh grace. You are not a God who overwhelms. You are a God who sustains. And I receive your sustaining power with humility and gratitude. I acknowledge before you that my life is not governed by patterns, but by purpose. Not by history, but by your hand. Not by what is repeated, but by what you are shaping. I am a cycle breaker by your grace. The pattern ends here because your spirit is actively rewriting the story of my life. I receive restoration not as a concept, but as a living process unfolding day by day. Let your presence continue to enter every neglected space within me, the areas I have ignored, the areas I have overprotected, the areas I have feared to examine. Nothing is unsafe in your care. Nothing is too broken for your restoration. Nothing is too complex for your wisdom. Lead me gently, patiently, thoroughly. Father, establish within me a new foundation that is not shaped by what has been, but by who you are. Let my future unfold from peace rather than pressure, from clarity rather than confusion, from alignment rather than resistance. I remain here before you, open, trusting, available, allowing your work to continue uninterrupted. Father, I continue to rest my heart in your presence, not because everything has resolved, but because I trust the one who is faithfully working beneath the surface. Your ways are steady, your intentions are pure, and your movements are precise. Even when I cannot trace every detail of what you are doing, I choose to believe that every moment surrendered to you is shaping something greater than I can yet see. Lord, you understand how cycles quietly shape the inner life. Repeated disappointments can influence expectations, how prolonged struggle can quietly erode confidence. Yet you are the God who restores not only circumstances, but perception. Restore the way I see myself. Restore the way I view my future. Restore the way I interpret seasons. Let me no longer interpret life through the lens of what has failed, but through the lens of your faithfulness. You have always been attentive to the cries of the heart, even when those cries were unspoken. You have seen the moments of silent endurance. You have witnessed the seasons where perseverance felt heavy. You have observed the strength it took simply to continue. Let this prayer become a place of renewal, where weariness is exchanged for gentle endurance and where heaviness is replaced by quiet stability. Father, I surrender to you the patterns that once felt inevitable, the thought that things would never change, the belief that certain struggles were permanent, the assumption that limitation was my portion. I lay these beliefs down before you and invite your truth to reshape every inner narrative. Let hope grow again, not loudly, not forcefully, but steadily and deeply. Where cycles have trained the mind to expect loss, teach the mind to recognize opportunity. Where repetition has taught the heart to brace for pain, teach the heart to remain open. Where disappointment has caused hesitation, teach the spirit to move forward with wisdom rather than fear. You are not only changing outcomes, you are transforming the inner posture of the soul. Let every hidden pattern be gently brought into your light, not for exposure that brings shame, but for illumination that brings healing. You are patient in your process. You are careful in your work. You never rush healing. You never force growth. You guide with wisdom and kindness, leading the heart into restoration without harm. I trust that your involvement in my life is not superficial. You are not adjusting symptoms. You are healing roots. You are not merely shifting circumstances. You are reordering foundations. Let every change you establish be lasting. Let every breakthrough be anchored in depth. Let every freedom be sustained by your presence. I continue to declare quietly before you that the pattern ends here, not as a demand, but as a posture of surrender. I do not force transformation. I receive it. I do not chase freedom. I walk into it. I do not strain for restoration. I align myself with it. Your spirit leads gently, and I follow willingly. Father, teach me to recognize progress even when it appears subtle. Teach me to value consistency over intensity. Teach me to trust slow growth over sudden shifts. Let me see your hand in small changes, in quiet improvements, in gentle realignments, knowing that lasting transformation often unfolds without noise. I remain before you with a heart that is learning to rest rather than resist, to trust rather than strive, to receive rather than control. Continue this work with wisdom. Continue this process with patience. Continue this restoration with care. I stay here, surrendered, attentive, receptive, allowing your steady work to unfold without interruption. Father, I remain aware that every season you allow carries purpose, even those that once felt confusing or heavy. You do not waste seasons. You do not waste waiting. You do not waste the quiet processes that unfold beneath the surface. Even when cycles once seemed to dominate my experience, I now trust that you are using every moment to shape depth, maturity, and stability within me. Lord, you see the places where discouragement once lingered quietly, where the heart learned to lower expectations as a form of protection. I bring those places before you gently, without shame, without resistance. Heal the subtle areas where hope was once guarded. Restore the quiet belief that good can unfold consistently, that peace can become normal, that progress can become natural. Your presence brings order where confusion once lingered. Your presence brings clarity where uncertainty once shaped decisions. Your presence brings calm where anxiety once tried to govern thought. Let your nearness continue to reshape my inner atmosphere so that peace becomes my posture rather than tension, and trust becomes my foundation rather than fear. Father, I entrust to you the slow dismantling of every inner pattern that no longer aligns with your truth. Where self-doubt has lingered quietly, replace it with gentle confidence rooted in your care. Where overthinking has drained energy, replace it with discernment. Where emotional heaviness has lingered, replace it with lightness of spirit that flows naturally. You are the God who restores not only what was lost, but what was never fully formed. You rebuild areas that were damaged before they could mature. You strengthen places that were fragile before they could grow. Let this restoration reach deeply into areas I may not fully understand, touching foundations, reshaping direction, renewing identity. Lord, teach my heart to recognize safety in your presence, rather than control in my own effort. Let me no longer feel the need to manage outcomes out of fear of repetition. Let me release the burden of trying to prevent disappointment through caution. Instead, let me walk with a quiet assurance that you are guiding each step wisely and faithfully. Where cycles once created tension around timing, teach me patience that is rooted in peace rather than strain. Where repeated delays once created frustration, teach me trust that does not depend on speed. Where uncertainty once created pressure, teach me rest that flows from surrender. I acknowledge before you that my future is not shaped by old narratives, but by your unfolding purpose. What once felt predictable no longer defines what lies ahead. What once felt limiting no longer determines what is possible. I receive this new unfolding not with anxiety, but with calm expectancy, trusting that your plans are wise and your direction is secure. Father, continue to cultivate stability within me that is not dependent on circumstance. Let my peace remain steady whether outcomes arrive quickly or slowly. Let my trust remain anchored whether clarity is immediate or gradual. Let my heart remain settled in the understanding that your presence itself is the greatest assurance of progress. I remain here before you without resistance, without striving, without urgency, only openness, only trust, only willingness. Continue your work gently. Continue your shaping wisely. Continue your restoration thoroughly. I rest in the assurance that what you are doing now is deeper, stronger, and more lasting than anything repetition ever produced. Father, I remain anchored in the quiet assurance that you are present in every layer of this process. You are not distant from the unseen work. You are not absent from the slow unfolding. You are not silent in the shaping. Even when my awareness feels limited, your involvement remains constant. Let my heart continue to rest in the knowledge that your hand is steady and your intentions are good. Lord, your word declares that you are near to all who call upon you in truth, and I hold this truth gently as I speak to you now. I do not raise my voice in striving, but I lift my heart in sincerity. I trust that you hear the tone beneath the words, the posture behind the prayer, the quiet faith that remains even when answers are still forming. You have spoken that the Lord will fulfill his purpose for my life, that your steadfast love endures forever, and that you do not abandon the work of your hands. I lean into this promise with calm confidence. If you are the one shaping my life, then no unfinished place is permanent. No broken place is final. No repeated struggle is stronger than your commitment to completion. Father, let this assurance settle deeply within me, not as excitement, but as stability. Let it form a foundation beneath my thoughts, beneath my choices, beneath my expectations. Where uncertainty once guided my emotional responses, let quiet trust now become my default posture. Where fear once whispered caution, let your faithfulness now whisper peace. You see how cycles often gain strength when the heart begins to lose clarity. So I ask you gently to restore clarity where it has faded. Restore discernment where it has been clouded. Restore wisdom where confusion once lingered. Let the internal environment become ordered again under your guidance. Your word says that the steps of the righteous are ordered by the Lord, and I rest in that ordering. I do not need to force direction. I do not need to anticipate every outcome. I do not need to control every detail. If you are ordering my steps, then movement itself becomes safe, even when the path is still unfolding. Lord, where fear of repetition has shaped caution, dissolve that fear with gentle confidence. Where past disappointment has shaped hesitation, soften that hesitation with trust. Where emotional guarding has shaped distance, replace that distance with security in your care. Let healing reach even the places I learned to protect quietly. I receive the understanding that freedom is not always dramatic, but often gradual. That deliverance is not always loud, but often deep. That restoration is not always sudden, but often steady. Let this process continue with patience, with wisdom, with thoroughness, until the patterns that once defined my experience no longer feel familiar. Father, I affirm again before you that I am not bound to old cycles. I am not shaped by repeated limitation. I am not governed by past instability. I am being shaped by your hand, led by your wisdom, sustained by your grace. The pattern ends here not as a declaration of force, but as a reality formed by your ongoing work. I remain still within this prayer, not waiting anxiously, but resting attentively, not demanding outcomes, but trusting process, not measuring progress, but receiving grace. Continue, Lord, the quiet transformation that is unfolding beneath every word, beneath every surrender, beneath every moment spent in your presence. Father, I remain attentive to the quiet work you are doing within the deeper spaces of my life. The areas that rarely receive attention, yet shape so much of what unfolds outwardly. You see the hidden motives, the subtle fears, the unspoken assumptions, and the inner patterns that no one else notices. I offer these places to you without resistance, trusting that your wisdom reaches where my understanding cannot. Your word says that you search the heart and examine the mind, and I welcome that searching, not with fear, but with trust. Let your light move gently through every hidden place. Where motives have been shaped by disappointment, refine them with truth. Where expectations have been shaped by past pain, reshape them with hope. Where inner narratives have been shaped by limitation, rewrite them with your promise. You are the God who leads with kindness, not with force. You guide with patience, not with pressure. Let this knowledge settle deeply within me, so that I no longer resist your process out of fear of change. Instead, let me yield with confidence, knowing that every adjustment you make is rooted in love and wisdom. Father, where cycles have been sustained by unresolved emotion, bring healing. Where patterns have been reinforced by unprocessed grief, bring restoration. Where behaviors have been shaped by survival rather than wholeness, bring renewal. You are not only concerned with outcomes, but with the inner health that supports lasting transformation. Your word reminds me that you are my refuge and my fortress, the one in whom I can rest securely. Let this truth become lived experience rather than distant belief. Let my nervous system learn peace in your presence. Let my thoughts settle under your covering. Let my inner world reflect the stability of your care. Lord, teach me to discern the difference between familiar patterns and true peace. Where struggle once felt normal, recalibrate my understanding. Where instability once felt expected, reorient my perception. Let peace become familiar. Let wholeness become recognizable. Let stability become natural under your guidance. I bring before you the areas where trust has been difficult because of repetition, where hope has felt fragile because of history. Strengthen my trust gently. Restore my hope patiently. Let confidence in your goodness grow not from emotion, but from consistent experience of your faithfulness over time. Father, you have promised that those who trust in you will not be put to shame. I hold to this truth quietly, allowing it to shape my expectations. Let shame dissolve where cycles once produced disappointment. Let dignity return where struggle once diminished confidence. Let identity be restored where repeated difficulty once distorted self-worth. I acknowledge again that I'm not bound to the past, not confined by old outcomes, not governed by previous limitations. My life is unfolding under your care, guided by your wisdom, sustained by your grace. The pattern ends here because your hand is present here, actively shaping what is becoming. So I remain in this place of surrender, not passive but receptive, not stagnant but trusting, not overwhelmed but anchored. Continue your work without interruption. Continue your refinement without haste. Continue your restoration without pressure. I stay before you, open and willing, allowing your purpose to unfold with gentle authority. Father, I remain aware that your work within me is not rushed, not shallow, not temporary. It is deliberate, thoughtful, and enduring. You are shaping something stable where instability once lingered. You are cultivating depth where surface survival once existed. Let this shaping continue without interruption, guided by your wisdom, rather than my impatience. Lord, you know how the heart can quietly carry memories of former seasons, how the mind can replay old outcomes as though they are forecasts for the future. I bring these tendencies before you gently. Heal the way memory influences expectation. Let the past lose its authority over my perception. Let your present guidance become the strongest influence shaping how I see what lies ahead. Your word says that you are gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love. Let this truth settle deeply within me, not as information, but as atmosphere. Let the knowledge of your gentleness remove fear. Let the awareness of your patience remove pressure. Let the assurance of your love remove every sense of insecurity. Father, where cycles once created emotional fatigue, begin establishing emotional resilience. Where repeated challenges once created guardedness, begin establishing openness. Where long seasons of uncertainty once created tension, begin establishing ease. Let my inner world become a reflection of your character rather than a reflection of my history. You are the God who restores what has been worn down gradually. You renew what has been strained over time. You heal what has been impacted by repetition. Let this restoration reach even the places I have normalized pain, the areas I once accepted as unchangeable, the patterns I quietly learned to tolerate. Let new life begin there. Lord, teach my heart to recognize the unfamiliar peace that accompanies true freedom. Where struggle once felt familiar, allow peace to become the new normal. Where tension once shaped daily experience, allow calm to take its place. Where heaviness once lingered beneath the surface, allow lightness of spirit to emerge gently. Your presence brings consistency where life once felt unpredictable. Your guidance brings coherence where direction once felt unclear. Your wisdom brings order where confusion once influenced decisions. Let my life begin to reflect this order, not through force, but through alignment with your steady leadership. Father, I receive the understanding that transformation does not always announce itself through consistency, stability, and clarity. Let me notice the quiet shift, not by limitation, but by restoration. The pattern ends here because your purpose continues here. My life moves forward because your hand is present here. So I remain before you with steady trust, Not waiting anxiously, not striving forcefully, not questioning constantly. Simply remaining, listening, yielding, receiving. Continue your work with wisdom. Continue your shaping with gentleness. Continue your restoration with depths. I stay within your presence, allowing what you are doing to unfold naturally and faithfully. Father, I remain conscious that your presence within my life is not temporary, not seasonal, not dependent on circumstance, but constant and enduring. Let this awareness deepen within me so that I no longer live as though I am navigating alone. Let every decision, every response, every expectation be shaped by the understanding that you are actively involved in every detail. Lord, you see the areas where trust has grown slowly because of what is repeated in the past. You see the places where confidence has required rebuilding over time. I bring these gently before you. Strengthen what is fragile. Stabilize what is uncertain. Establish what has been inconsistent. Let growth continue without pressure, without force, without fear. Your word declares that your mercy is new every morning. And I receive that mercy not as emotion, but as renewal. Each day becomes a fresh beginning under your care. Each moment becomes an opportunity for alignment. Each breath becomes evidence that you are sustaining what you are transforming. Father, where cycles once created emotional distance, restore connection. Where patterns once produced withdrawal, restore engagement. Where repeated disappointment once encouraged isolation, restore openness. Let my life begin to reflect healthy rhythms rooted in peace rather than guardedness. You are the God who rebuilds patiently. You do not discard what has been damaged. You do not abandon what has struggled. You remain present with what requires restoration. Let this truth settle deeply, that I am not behind your grace, not forgotten in your process, not overlooked in your attention. Lord, refine the way I interpret silence. Where silence once felt like absence, teach me to recognize it as process. Where stillness once felt like stagnation, teach me to see it as preparation. Where waiting once felt like delay, teach me to understand it as shaping. Let my perspective continue to mature under your guidance. I bring before you the areas where fear of repetition has quietly influenced choices. Heal this gently. Let wisdom guide my decisions rather than anxiety. Let discernment lead rather than self-protection. Let trust in your direction replace the need to anticipate every possible outcome. Father, establish consistency where inconsistency once lived. Establish stability where instability once lingered. Establish peace where tension once ruled. Let these changes take root deeply so that transformation is not temporary but sustained. You are not only correcting what has been misaligned, you are cultivating what has never been fully developed. You are nurturing potential that has waited patiently beneath the surface. Let this nurturing continue quietly and faithfully until fullness begins to manifest naturally. So I remain here again, not striving, not forcing, not measuring, but yielding, trusting, receiving, allowing. Continue your work with patience. Continue your shaping with wisdom. Continue your restoration with depth. I remain available to the process you are completing with care. Father, I continue to yield my inner life to your gentle leadership, knowing that lasting change is born not from pressure, but from presence. Let your nearness remain the atmosphere in which my thoughts settle, my emotions stabilize, and my direction becomes clear. Where uncertainty once shaped my inner world, let your steady guidance now form the foundation of how I move forward. Lord, you see the places where patience has been tested over time, where endurance has been quietly required, beyond what others could see. Bring that hidden endurance before you without complaint. Strengthen it with grace. Renew it with hope. Let perseverance become not a burden, but a peaceful expression of trust in your timing. Your word speaks of your faithfulness that reaches to the heavens, a faithfulness that does not weaken with time and does not change with circumstance. Let this faithfulness become more real to me than memory, more influential than fear, more present than expectation. Let it reshape how I interpret every season of my life. Father, where discouragement once tried to take root quietly, uproot it gently. Where resignation once tried to settle in, replace it with quiet assurance. Where emotional fatigue once lingered beneath the surface, breathe renewed steadiness. Let emotional health become part of the restoration you are establishing. You are the God who rebuilds dignity where struggle once eroded it. You restore worth where difficulty once distorted it. Let identity be healed at its deepest level, so that I no longer see myself through the lens of delay, but through the truth of being formed intentionally by your hands. Lord, continue to heal the areas where trust in life itself was weakened by repetition. Teach my heart again that good can unfold consistently, that stability is possible, that peace can be sustained. Let this renewed trust shape how I engage with others, how I approach opportunities, and how I respond to uncertainty. I bring before you the subtle fears that linger when the future feels unfamiliar. Calm them with your presence. Replace them with discernment rather than dread, with wisdom rather than worry. Let courage emerge quietly, not as force, but as confidence grounded in your guidance. Father, let the new patterns you are establishing become stronger than the old patterns that once existed. Let new rhythms of thought, new habits of response, new ways of perceiving life become natural. Let transformation become not effort, but identity formed through continued alignment with you. You are shaping something consistent, something stable, something enduring. Let this work deepen beyond behavior into belief, beyond routine into identity, beyond change into permanence. Let every part of my life begin to reflect the order and peace of your nature. So again I remain before you with openness, not analyzing the process, not rushing the outcome, simply remaining, trusting, yielding, receiving. Continue, Lord, with wisdom. Continue with patience. Continue with depth. Let your work move forward, uninterrupted within me. Father, I remain aware that what you are shaping within me is not fragile, not temporary, not dependent on circumstance, but rooted in your enduring work. Let this awareness grow deeper so that I no longer question the stability of what you are building. Let me rest in the understanding that what comes from your hand carries permanence. Lord, you see how the soul sometimes grows cautious after long seasons of uncertainty. You understand how the heart learns to guard itself when outcomes have been unpredictable. I bring this cautiousness before you gently. Soften it with reassurance. Heal it with consistency. Replace it with confidence grounded in your faithfulness rather than in experience. You are the God who does not merely change outcomes, but transforms foundations. Let the foundations of my thoughts, my expectations, my reactions, and my beliefs continue to be shaped by truth rather than by fear. Let stability become my natural posture because your presence has become my constant environment. Father, where old cycles once created internal resistance to growth, dissolve that resistance with gentle understanding. Where patterns once created hesitation toward new possibilities, replace that hesitation with discernment and peace. Let every internal barrier that developed through repetition be quietly dismantled by your wisdom. Lord, continue to teach my heart the language of peace. Teach it how to remain settled even when circumstances are still shifting. Teach it how to trust even when clarity is still emerging. Teach it how to rest even when answers are still unfolding. Let peace become the rhythm that governs my inner life. You are the God who restores continuity where fragmentation once existed. You gather what was scattered. You align what was disordered. You strengthen what was inconsistent. Let this gathering work continue in every area of my life until wholeness becomes evident in thought, in emotion, and in direction. Father, let the transformation you are establishing be deeper than behavior. Let it reach identity. Let it reshape self-perception. Let it renew the way I understand my place, my value, and my purpose. Let me no longer identify with struggle, but with growth, shaped by your hand. Lord, teach me to walk forward without constantly looking backward for reference. Teach me to trust the present work you are doing more than the memory of former patterns. Let my attention remain anchored in what you are building rather than in what you are dismantling. I receive quietly the truth that what lies ahead is not a continuation of what was behind. The path you are shaping is not defined by repetition, but by renewal. Let this understanding settle deeply, forming hope that is steady rather than emotional, and expectation that is peaceful rather than anxious. So again, I remain here, not because I lack movement, but because I trust process. Not because I feel uncertain, but because I choose surrender. Continue shaping, continue healing, continue restoring. I remain receptive, attentive, and willing, allowing the work you are completing to unfold with depth and wisdom. Father, I remain aware that every layer of healing you bring is preparing the ground for something healthier to grow. You do not remove patterns without also establishing new foundations. You do not empty spaces without filling them with wisdom. Let this understanding steady my heart as I continue to trust the work you are accomplishing beyond what I can yet see. Lord, you know how easily the mind returns to familiar paths when uncertainty arises. You see how memory sometimes attempts to guide expectation. I bring this tendency before you gently. Retrain my mind to follow your voice rather than past experience. Let my thoughts become aligned with the future you are shaping rather than with the history you are redeeming. You are the God who works with intention, not impulse. Every adjustment you make is purposeful. Every delay you allow is meaningful. Every season you sustain carries wisdom. Let me learn to respect your timing without questioning your care. Let me learn to trust your process without demanding immediate clarity. Father, continue refining my inner stability so that external changes no longer disturb my peace. Where emotions once shifted quickly due to circumstances, establish steadiness. Where reactions once came from fear, establish discernment. Where uncertainty once created restlessness, establish quiet confidence in your guidance. Lord, let the new patterns you are forming within me become stronger than the old patterns that once defined me. Let patience become natural. Let wisdom become instinctive. Let peace become familiar. Let trust become automatic. Let these qualities take root so deeply that they begin to shape every interaction and every decision. You are the God who builds gradually yet securely. You construct character layer by layer. You establish strength through consistency rather than intensity. Let me value this gradual work. Let me respect the slow transformation that produces lasting stability rather than temporary change. Father, where I once doubted whether true change was possible, gently replace doubt with assurance. Where I once questioned whether growth could endure, replace uncertainty with quiet confidence. Let belief in your faithfulness grow deeper than belief in circumstance, deeper than belief in experience, deeper than belief in outcome. Lord, let the restoration you are bringing shape the way I see others as well. Heal my perspective. Remove suspicion where repetition once produced distrust. Replace guardedness with wisdom. Replace defensiveness with discernment. Let my relationships begin to reflect the wholeness you are establishing within me. You are the God who creates continuity where life once felt fragmented. You are weaving coherence where confusion once existed. Let every aspect of my life begin to align under your order so that thought, emotion, action, and direction move together in harmony rather than in conflict. So I remain here again, not out of habit, but out of trust, not because I am uncertain, but because I am surrendered. Continue your shaping, continue your refining, continue your restoration. I remain available to your process, confident that what you are completing will stand with strength and stability long beyond this season. Father, I remain still before you as this prayer begins to settle into silence, not because your work is ending, but because your work is continuing beyond words. Let everything that has been spoken here take root quietly, deeply, and steadily within the heart. Let nothing be rushed. Let nothing be shallow. Let everything unfold according to your wisdom and timing. Lord, I thank you not with emotion, but with assurance that you have heard, assurance that you are present, assurance that you are working. I trust that what you begin you sustain, and what you sustain you complete. Even when I cannot trace every detail of the journey, I rest in the certainty that your hand remains consistent. You are the God who completes what concerns me, not partially, not temporarily, but fully, thoroughly, faithfully. Let this completion unfold gently over time, shaping life with stability, clarity, and peace. Let the evidence of your work appear in thought, in behavior, in direction, and in quiet inner strength. Father, let the freedom you are establishing remain guarded by wisdom. Let the peace you are building remain protected by trust. Let the stability you are forming remain sustained by your presence. Let nothing that once tried to return find familiar ground again. Let the new life you are forming feel natural, secure, and enduring. Lord, let every person who remains connected to this prayer experience the same steady work of restoration, not through force, not through emotional pressure, but through your gentle and faithful presence. Let hearts be strengthened. Let minds be renewed. Let lives be quietly transformed. I release control over outcomes and place trust fully into your care. I do not carry the weight of timing. I do not manage the process. I do not measure progress. I simply remain surrendered, available, trusting, and receptive to the work you are completing with wisdom. Father, let this prayer continue to echo not as words, but as posture. Let it shape how I rise each day. Let it shape how I wait. Let it shape how I choose. Let it shape how I rest. Let it shape how I trust. Let it shape how I move forward in life with calm assurance. And if anyone listening to this prayer feels led to remain connected, let them do so peacefully. Let them stay in the atmosphere of faith. Let them share this prayer gently with someone who may need comfort. Let them remain without pressure, without obligation, but only with willingness of heart. Lord, may every life touched by this moment experience your goodness quietly and steadily over time. Let progress be real. Let healing be deep. Let peace be lasting. Let direction be clear. Let hope be stable. Let transformation be genuine. So I end this prayer the same way it has been spoken, without striving, without urgency, without fear. Only trust, only surrender, only quiet confidence in your presence. Amen.